this is the plant where everything is going to be happening. So right now, we know that the Ranger and the Everest are made here, the current gen, and the next gen are going to be made here as well. But what maybe you didn't know is that this is officially the only place in the world where Amarok, the next Amarok, is going to be made. Like, there is no other place in the world that I've heard is going to be making Amarok. It's only going to be coming from Fort Silverton plant, South Africa. Wow. Okay, I feel happy just to say that. So now I'm not here to talk about the plant, because if I'm to start about it, I'm just seeing a lot of machines doing whatever they're doing in this plant, and people are working with machines and they are bringing together things and assembling cars, and then at the end we're getting the cars that we're getting, and then we're driving them. And that's what I know about this plant, guys. I'm not a technical person when it comes to whatever is happening in here. So as we're doing this tour, I'm only going to be talking about the next generation Ranger and the Amarok, right? So it's an interesting relationship, I think, because I didn't expect it to be happening. For some reason, I don't know why, I always thought they're enemies. Why would they be enemies? I don't know. I thought they were competing. But let's clear something. The whole thing of sharing a bed is only happening in this particular plant, right? Outside of here, on the streets, it's no. Everyone is doing their own thing. Everyone is having their own lives. It's competition. It's game on. Because at retail level, there is nothing where VW is related to Ford, right? This is the only place where they're sharing the bed. But let's look at the two cars now, because we are here to talk about the cars. We're not necessarily here to talk about everything else. I looked at the Amarok because it's the one that's just been recently introduced, right? And I was like, oh, I see a Ranger. And then after a minute, I was like, no, but I'm not necessarily seeing a Ranger, because I think my mind was lying to me, because my mind was saying it's based on the Ranger, so it has to look like a Ranger. But if I'm looking at it properly, I'm like, no, it doesn't necessarily look like a Ranger. Yes, there are bits and pieces. I think if I look at the front bonnet, it's looking a little bit like it's exactly like the Ranger. But if I'm looking at everything else, in fact, it looks more bulkier than the Ranger. When I'm looking at the front end, I'm not particularly fond of this front end, especially the top spec Aventura. I don't know why I'm not feeling it that much. I think it's the silver plating that happened, just hugging the bumper going down. I think that's the thing that is bothering me a bit, because when I look at the Ranger in the front, especially that wall track, and that thing looks nice, man. Maybe another thing that convinced me that it looks nice is because I've seen it in metal. At this particular tour right here, is we were actually going to go to the preview of the next generation Ranger and the Everest. And when I look at the front end, I was like, yes, this thing looks nice. It looks very, very nice, actually, according to me. And that's where, if I was to look at the two, maybe if the Amarok comes and parks in front of me, I'll say it looks nice. I think that Panamericana one, it looks better, probably because of the black packaging that I'm seeing there. I think it looks better, but when I'm comparing the two, nah, man, I think the Ranger's taking it. I think on exterior, I think the Ranger's taking it. But let's look inside, because that's where I think there's more similarities than the exterior, actually, because the exterior, I think you can clearly see that, these things are different. Just that your mind is telling you that I know it's a Ford. But when you're coming in the interior, you're starting to see the differences, in a sense of saying, VW, if I am considering the recent relationship that I can refer to is the BT50 and the D-Max, right, the Isuzu and the Mazda. They obviously went with their own designs on the exterior, but when you get inside, literally you can put your hand on the badge, either from the Isuzu or Mazda, and you're just seeing the same car. Everything is almost the same. But in here, you can see the differences. Of course, when you get in, if you just look down by the gear lever, you're probably going to think, oh, they're the same. But the moment you look up, the screen, as much as it's more like tablet style, it's more portrait, they look the same. In fact, they're the same because they're also going to be sharing Ford Sync 4. But for VW purposes, it's going to be like modified, obviously, for graphics and everything, so that it can be able to be aligned to the current gen VWs, right? But it's not that it's the same, because when I'm looking at it, VW's choice of buttons is like different to the ones that Ford chose for their aircon controls. But for VW, I can see that I'm not sure even if it's for aircons. I think it's for like parking and all those things, but I'm not necessarily sure. I think the aircon is going to be inside the screen itself, which some people might not like, but hey, we are getting there. We are touching things now. We are no longer pressing. So that's one part, I think, for me, that you can see that obviously there are similarities. But the steering wheel, you can see VW went with their own, Ford went with their own. The dashboard as well, you can see the air vents on the side, different. Even the one in the center by the screen, it shows that it's different. When you turn back to the seats as well, you can see that VW went with their own, and Ford, in this case, obviously they went with their own because they're the ones who are, this is their car. So what I think is very, very much the same is the stuff we don't see, right? Like the chassis, like the frame of this vehicle. It's basically the Ranger, or should I say the Everest, because then now the platform is the same and they're sharing the same platform. If you look at in here, in this plant, actually, they don't necessarily say we're going to put the Rangers here, we're going to put the Raptors here, we're going to put the Everest here. They just coming from the same line. Different bodies are being put on like different things. What is this? Different frames, or same frames. Why am I saying different frames? Same frames. So that I believe that's how they're going to run it as well, because it's saving cost in this case. When the same line, then they're just running like different bodies on it, and then the others are going to be doing whatever they need to do. What I'm asking myself is, are the VW guys gonna come and work here? Hey, I'm not sure, because that is now a corporate level decision. I'm not sure how that is gonna work. But I would assume that there will be a mixture of VW people in this plant and also the Ford people. So they're going to know each other's secrets. In fact, when I read some articles around why VW chose to work with Ford, is because they said they were going to do almost the same things. And I'm asking myself, hey, how did they know? Like, who was spying on who? I don't know. But at the same time, they said whatever they had plans for the next generation Amarok and Ranger, basically they were almost going to do the same thing. So they just thought, let's just come together. But in my mind, I'm thinking, VW, because when I'm looking at the sales figures of the T6 Ranger, which is this one that is in this plant right now, the one that is coming is apparently T6.2, but it's still the same platform really. So when I'm looking at the sales worldwide, like global sales, coming from around 2011, 2012 when the T6 Ranger came, and I'm looking at the Amarok since it came in 2010, Amarok sold around, unconfirmed figures of course, more than 830,000, I think, units. And then the Ranger, add 1 million to that. Add 1 million to that. You will see that the Ranger is pushing numbers like crazy. So I'm thinking VW was like, hey, why not join the winners? I mean, why not? I mean, Ford has, if you look at the current lineup of Ford, and if you look at like worldwide in terms of what Ford is trying to achieve, they're pushing more trucks, pickups, bakkies, whatever you call it in your country. They're pushing that more than anything else. So I think VW saw a winning combination with Ford, and they were like, no, you know what, we're riding onto that. We're coming in, going on to that one. So there's still a story of engines and transmissions, right? And this is where it gets interesting, because if the reports are anything to go by, VW is a point. The vehicle that you look in front of you is not necessarily a Ford, it's a VW, because the 2-liter TDI that we are used to in the Amarok is still coming back. Now the reports are saying it's coming with 110 kilowatts and also the option of 125 kilowatts. You can also get 5-speed manual or 6-speed manual, where at the 6-speed one in the 125 one, then you can also get the 4x4 select. Yes, and then in the Ranger, the 2-liter single turbo that we used to as well, and the bi-turbo, they're still coming back as well. But there will be a point where they're coming together to link up. There's now the 3-liter V6 diesel that is coming in both the Ranger and the Amarok. I don't know at which spec level of each this is going to come in, but what I'm gathering is that at that level, they're going to share the 10-speed auto from Ford. What I thought was that the V6 was part of the negotiation coming from VW, but it looks like it's not, because it's the 184 kilowatts, 600 Newton meters of torque, and that reports are saying is coming from Ford, and it's called a Lion engine. You can search that and then you'll find it, of course, and more information. But it cuts there, you know, that is where it cuts, because I believe they were sitting at the table and VW people were eyeing that 3-liter V6 petrol that is coming with the Raptor, and they're like, we're gonna put in the Amarok and we're gonna have fun. And Ford was like, hey, never. This is where we're drawing the line now. We are competitors at the end of the day. I can only give you a 2.3-liter petrol. Why am I saying V? It's a 4-pot petrol that is just going to give you whatever you need. It's an EcoBoost, of course, it's coming from Ford. So in this case, it's pumping out 222 kilowatts as per reports, and I believe that's a lot, but it's nowhere near the 292 that's going to be in the Ranger Raptor. Oh man, that's going to be exciting to see, actually. Hey. Okay, let's talk about the launch dates. I am anticipating that in the next quarter, which is quarter 3 or quarter 4, we're going to start seeing the Rangers and the Everest being introduced to us. And then quarter 1, 2023, I think that's when then the Amarok is going to come. Then as well, we're going to be getting the Ranger Raptor then. I think so. Yes. Otherwise, thank you very much for being here with me. I really appreciate it. I hope I gave you whatever I can give on these two vehicles. Thank you very much. I am out.